Welcome to the Onward Podcast. This is a solo cast. I'm not interviewing anybody. I'm just sitting here in front of the microphone talking to you, to my listeners. And I call my listeners the Onwarders. Thank you so much for listening to the Onward Podcast and for supporting me. It's been nearly 2 years since I've been publishing at least one episode per week. This week, the Onward Podcast is all about mental fitness. But before we get into the content on mental fitness, I want to do something I don't do very often on this show. Talk about myself. Don't worry, it's not going to take a lot of time. First, I'm going to share a little bit of a background on me and how I ended up hosting this podcast. Next, I'll share my journey over the past 2 years since I retired from federal service. And this journey includes the passing of my children's father, becoming an entrepreneur, and founding the Onward Movement. And then I'm going to share a little bit about what I've learned about mental fitness and how becoming more mentally fit has helped me and how it can help you. So a little bit about me. I served my country for 38 years as both a naval officer and a federal employee. And ultimately, I retired as a member of the Senior Executive Service in May of 2019, which was the equivalent of a 2-star admiral. I don't really like talking about myself, but you could say that I was among some trailblazers. I was in the 6th class of women to graduate from the U.S. Naval Academy. And I don't know the numbers exactly, but out of about 1,200 people that graduated, there were about 72 or 76 women. I was also one of the first 2 officers on the USS Emory S. Land, which is a submarine tender, to qualify as a Supply Corps Surface Warfare Officer, and the second Supply Corps officer, which is like the business end of the Navy, to become a company officer and leadership instructor at the Naval Academy. So after I graduated, I came back as a company officer in charge of a company of midshipmen in all 4 grades, and also a leadership instructor for juniors at the Naval Academy. As a civilian federal employee, I was a contracting officer negotiating and awarding contracts to buy everything from oxygen tanks to support services such as program management and engineering services to Navy and Marine Corps aircraft and weapon systems. I also served as the small business professional for the Naval Air Systems Command and then for the Department of the Navy. And as director of the Department of the Navy's Office of Small Business Programs, I was an advisor to the Secretary of the Navy on all small business matters. And I collaborated with other senior leaders to establish small business policy for the Navy and the Marine Corps. During my last year in that job, in 2019, the Navy and the Marine Corps spent over $16 billion. That's how much they obligated on contracts with small businesses as prime contractors in support of the important mission that the Navy and the Marine Corps have. When I was asked to move at one point back in 2005 from contracts to lead the Naval Air Systems Command small business programs, I was terrified. The job wasn't even in the top 100 of a list of jobs that I'd be interested in taking. It required public speaking. It required setting up outreach events and conferences. That terrified me. I'm an introvert. I was like, I don't know how to do that. But I took the job, and it ended up that being a small business professional was the best job that I've ever had. Well, maybe besides what I'm doing now. So looking back, I can see how being a small business professional prepared me for this phase of my life where I'm a personal and a business coach, as well as a podcast host. As a wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, youth sports coach, volunteer, single working parent, I appeared to have it all together. But I didn't. And I was just looking for something more, something that was aligned with my soul's purpose. I was looking for something, but I didn't know what it was. In 2014, a friend invited me to the World Domination Summit. That's a conference focused on how to live a remarkable life in a conventional world. An idea that I could create a life that I loved was planted in my mind, but I didn't take action right away. You know how it is when you go to a conference or whatever, and you come back and you're like all excited. Then you come back to reality. So that was in 2014. Fast forward to 2018. I was riding the metro on my job to the Pentagon, and I saw crowds of people, eyes down, ear pods in, blank expressions on their faces. And I thought, they don't look very happy. And I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the subway window. And I realized I looked like that too. I felt suffocated. I was actually tired of my routine. And in traveling so much, my left hip was starting to really hurt. It was actually, in some days, it was really hard for me to even walk. I was just getting out of shape. And I finally decided I was ready to create a life on my terms. But who was I and what did I want? I didn't even know. I think in working for the Navy for so long, I had just forgotten how to dream. So when I retired, I called it a graduation. I retired in May of 2019, and I have an episode on that, everything that happened on that graduation day. It was a mess, but it was also really exciting. And I graduated. I feel like instead of retiring at age 56, I'm graduating. I'm moving on to something else, something bigger and better. And I'm not even sure what it is, but I'm going to create it. And it was fun. It was exciting. But once I retired, I did some inner work on myself. I wanted to learn how to feel again. I felt like I didn't know how to dream. I didn't know how to feel. I worked with coaches and counselors, and they would say, well, where do you feel about this thing that happened? I'm like, I don't know what I feel. I know what I think. I don't know what I feel. So I had to work really hard on that. And I actually did have a lot of feelings coming through because within a few weeks after I retired, my children's father, my former husband, was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 kidney cancer. He had an innumerable number of tumors all throughout his body. And one of them was in his C5 vertebrae. And actually, within a few weeks after I retired, caused him paralysis in both of his arms. So my life was upended again. Instead of being able to put myself first, I put my kids and I put him first and helped take care of him. Because he couldn't imagine not having 2 arms that you can move. What can you do? And then just being so weak from the cancer, it was a really, really hard time. And I had a lot of feelings and I couldn't name them. And I had one of my podcast guests talked about when you shove your feelings to the basement, they lift weights. Well, my feelings had certainly lifted weights. So that first year after retirement, I spent a lot of time getting to know myself again and understanding myself and being able to name my feelings. And now I'm still on my journey, but I've really learned how to listen to my intuition better, my inner voice, my higher self, my authentic self. And I've created a roadmap for creating an authentic and fulfilling life. That's something that I coach on. And I'm still on my journey, but I'm living a life that I'd never imagined before. And I'm pursuing my dreams with confidence and living life on my own terms. So a year ago, in April, in addition to the podcast, I created the Onward Movement. The Onward Movement is a free community. Right now, it's a Facebook group. And eventually, I'd love to have it become more than that through retreats and other events. The Onward Movement is all about creating the life of our dreams, a life that we love living. The Onward Movement seeks to inspire you and at least 10,000 others to bravely embrace authenticity and release the fear of judgment so you can create the life of your dreams with confidence. And what is that fear of judgment? I've talked about it before. When I retired, everyone's like, Emily, you can't retire. You're too young. Your brain's going to go to mush. Okay, if you're going to retire, you should go work for a large defense contractor. You can make a lot of money. There's all these shoulds. Everyone telling me what I should do. And I decided to do what I wanted to do, what I felt called to do. And that's what I want to help other people do as well. So the Onward Movement Facebook community is free, like I said, and I post encouraging content as well as hold training sessions, coaching sessions within the group. There's lots of engagement. And as Onwarders, we've discussed books. We've had book club discussions. We've had discussions on racism in America. We've had so many awesome discussions. And that's something that we're doing in the Onward Movement. You're welcome to join. I'd love to see you join that group and check it out. See if it's for you. But also in creating a life of our dreams, in creating the life of our dreams with confidence, at least for me and probably for you, physical fitness is important. And so is mental fitness. They're most likely on your list when you're thinking about creating a dream and a life that you would love living. You may not know what I'm talking about when I say mental fitness, but I think, and I'll explain it a little bit more, but you may not use the term mental fitness, but you want to be happy, right? You want to have good relationships with people. So first, I'm going to explain who my target clients are in my coaching business and how mental fitness ties into helping my target clients. When I worked in contracting for the federal government and also in the small business office, I dealt with lots of small businesses, lots of entrepreneurs. And I tell them, you've got to determine which organization buys what you sell. And basically by saying that, I was saying, you got to determine your niche. Who is it that you help? What problem does your product serve or help? How can you help your customer? And then when I got out of the Navy and starting my own business, it's the same thing. I had to start taking the advice that I was giving. And let me tell you, it's a lot easier to give the advice than to actually apply it in your own life. So I have a lot of empathy for entrepreneurs, but I had to really narrow down, well, who is it that I help? What's the problem that I solve? And in coaching, I still get calls from small businesses wanting me to help them. So how can I still help small businesses too? Because I have a big passion for that. So I have 3 different kind of groupings of target clients. One is women, and I would include female veterans specifically in this because female veterans, as well as women who've worked for the federal government their whole life, because that's what I've done. Women who want to transform their dreams into reality so they can create a life that they love while achieving new heights of authentic success. How do you be yourself when you go to work every day? I get that question a lot, especially from women who work in male-dominated environments. How do they dream? How do they create a life that they really love living? So they may not be ready to retire, but maybe they want to switch to a different job, or they need to make some changes in their life so that they can say, I love living my life. And the second group is entrepreneurs, okay? Entrepreneurs who want to position their company to accelerate results and win government contracts while creating more freedom and time for themselves, their relationships, and their health. And mental fitness can help with this. And then empty nesters, people who are ready to retire and know that they still have something to contribute to the world. That's how I was. I'm 56. I'm ready to retire. I'm ready to graduate, to move on to bigger and better things. And I still have something that I want to give back. So I help my clients discover their dreams that are in alignment with their soul's purpose, to develop a crystal clear picture of what they want for their lives so that they can transform it into reality. And I help them do that, to discover patterns and habits that are holding you back, to create new patterns of thought and action, to trade overwhelm for inner calm, and to achieve your true success, your true potential for success and fulfillment. So we should talk if any of these statements describe you. You're driven and accomplished, yet somewhere along the way, your dreams became buried under a mound of responsibilities. You feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and on the verge of burnout, and your needs, wants, and desires are a distant memory. Your relationships are suffering, and you seek inner calm, and you keep thinking, life is too short to live it this way. And if you're wondering, yes, there are men in the Onward movement. I'd say in the Facebook group, it's about 75% women, 25% men. And I do help men in coaching. So it's not just women, but when I target my message, it probably resonates more with women because I'm a woman, because of the life that I've led, because I'm a mom, but I can help men as well. So let's talk about mental fitness and what that means. So if you're not physically fit, you'd feel physical stress as you climb up a steep hill. We all know what it's like to not be physically fit. If you're not mentally fit, you would feel mental stress, such as anxiety, frustration, or unhappiness as you handle work and relationship challenges. And I just participated in a coaching program with Shirzad Chamine, who wrote a book called Positive Intelligence. And a lot of what I'm telling you is based on what I've learned in his coaching program and what he has discovered while working with over 500,000 different people in 50 different countries. And Shirzad says that 80% of people score below the minimum level of mental fitness that's required for peak performance and happiness. And I'm going to tell you how to discover your scores as well. With recent breakthroughs in neuroscience and technology, you can now improve your mental fitness significantly with just 6 weeks of practice. After 6 weeks of mental fitness practice, you will see dramatically improved performance and productivity and a calm, clear, and happier mind. Backed by neuroscience and positive psychology, this research comes from over 500,000 participants in over 50 countries. Started in Stanford University by Shirzad Chamine, the New York Times bestselling author of Positive Intelligence. And I'll put a link to the book in the show notes. What he determined was that there is a radical simplification that allows us to understand how we choose to respond, either positively or negatively, to life's challenges. And there are 3 core muscles that are at the root of all mental fitness training: the saboteur interceptor, the sage, and the self-command muscle. Shirzad explains that there are actually 10 saboteurs and 5 sage muscles. And these sages can help us respond to any challenge with positivity rather than negativity. Just about every challenge can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. The saboteurs come from the left side of our brain, the brainstem and the limbic system. And the sage comes from the middle prefrontal cortex, or the right side of our brain, where we have the empathy, where we have the empathy circuitry, as well as empathy that comes from compassion, creativity, passion, and purpose, as well as swift action. Your negative emotions can motivate you. They can, but they're doing it through stress, fear, anger, guilt, shame, and insecurity. And while you might be successful, you're really not going to experience happiness. I can definitely relate to this. My top saboteur is hyperachiever. My hyperachiever tells me, Emily, you would not be successful without me. You need to keep pushing, achieve more, and you'll be happy. Just one more thing, just keep achieving and you will be happy. I finally realized that's a lie. My happiness doesn't have to come from achieving, and I can never achieve enough for me to make me happy the way my saboteur wants me to be. I can be happy using my empathy and self-compassion that I've learned in Shirzad's program. Your sage side generates your highest success with sustained happiness because you're being motivated by empathy, compassion, creativity, passion, and purpose, as well as swift action. So I used to think the pain was good for me. No pain, no gain, right? Keep pushing. Shirzad said that if you put your hand on a hot stove, it's helpful for a second. But if you keep your hand on that hot stove, it hurts your ability to see clearly and respond through empathy, compassion, creativity, passion, and purpose, as well as swift action. Staying in the negative space is being activated by a saboteur. I invite you to participate in a short exercise that you can do anytime, anywhere, any place, if you're experiencing negative emotions and you're feeling stressed out. I say anytime, anywhere, any place, but if you're driving, don't practice everything I'm going to tell you because I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. So if you're driving, just do this when you get home, okay? So this will be just for a minute, maybe less. Take 2 fingertips, close your eyes, take 2 fingertips and just rub them closely together with such attention that you can feel the ridges on your fingertips. And as you're doing this, you're going to have thoughts in your brain that show up. Emily, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? What good is this? Oh, I forgot to do that today. As those thoughts come through your mind, let them go. Direct your attention back to the fingertips. Focus on your fingertips. Feel the ridges. Notice what happens in your body. You slow down. You come back into your body. And the longer you do this, you can bring your attention to the physical sensations in your body and come out of the left side of your brain, the saboteur mode, to the right side of your brain, the sage mode. So anytime you're feeling a negative feeling, you can stop because you're in that saboteur mode. And you can use mental fitness to quiet your saboteurs and activate your sage. The sage perspective assumes that every challenge can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. Maybe not right away. A lot of difficult things happen in this life. And you know as well as I do that a lot of times right away, you can't see the good in something that has happened. You can't see a gift or an opportunity. But your ability to shift comes down to the strength of your mental muscles. You were going to go to the gym and do 2 to 3 reps and leave. It's not going to transform your life. Or maybe you're like me. I joined the gym when I lived in Washington, D.C. I walked past that gym every day on the way to work, and I did not get in good shape. I realized I actually had to go into the gym and do the exercises in order to get in shape. So it's the same with mental fitness. I just showed you one simple exercise that you can do anytime, anywhere. But until you get in the habit of doing this on a regular basis, you're not going to have that experience of that mental shift. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Easier it is to drop in through your sage and discover the gift or the opportunity in that situation. The relative strength of your positive sage versus negative saboteurs is called PQ, or positive intelligence quotient. And PQ is the measure of your mental fitness. It's the best predictor of how happy you are and how well you perform relative to your potential. And you can boost your PQ significantly with practice. And I'm going to, in the show notes, give you 2 links where you can take a short assessment. It takes less than 5 minutes to discover your saboteurs and the stronger ones versus the weaker ones, and see if that resonates with you when you get your scores back. You might say, that's not me. Or you might say, oh, wow, that is me. And where that does represent not me, but that mental chatter in my brain, which is not me. It's mental chatter in my brain that I can stop. What Shirzad teaches us is to, have a name for your judge or for your hyperachiever saboteur. And you can say, there goes, whatever your name is, I'll just call it judge. There goes the judge again, telling me how I should think about this situation. But I know that judge is lying to me, and I can go to the sage side of my brain and have better thoughts about this situation. So we can learn how to easily incorporate mental fitness training into our daily lives. It doesn't require going to a gym for 40 minutes a day or an hour a day. You can build these exercises that you would learn in this coaching program I'm going to be telling you about to increase your mental fitness, and you can incorporate them during your day. Like I do them when I'm walking my dog. I do them when I'm washing my hands. I do them when I'm doing the dishes. I do them when I'm cleaning my house, which is very rare, but that's another topic. So do you feel this way sometimes in your personal or work life, that have you ever felt like overworked or underappreciated or even guilty or lazy when you tried to relax? Are you constantly thinking about mistakes you made, or do you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about what might go wrong tomorrow? The big brief you have to give. I've been there. I think we all have. How would it feel if you were happier, if you were more in control of your life, and if you could quiet those negative thoughts bouncing around in your head? This constant self-judgment and negativity, really, it does affect all of us, as well as those around us too. And I think that before I took this coaching program, I didn't realize how loud and how frequent those negative thoughts were in my head. It became more evident to me. I feel like my judge, some people's judge, is always yelling and screaming at them. You idiot, you should have done this. Why didn't you do it that way? My judge is kind of more subtle and quiet. And I don't always notice and recognize that a thought is coming from my judge. So it sometimes feels like we can't control how we feel or what we think. And we surely can't control what others think or how they feel about us. We will always be judged by others. But do you want to accept the negativity of your circumstances and believe the chatter in your head? What if you had the muscles, the tools, the techniques to recognize the negativity in your head fairly quickly and then shift to thinking positively, shift to sage mode? The truth is that we're all actually creating the negativity that's bouncing around in our head. We're creating it. And so that's good news, because it means we ultimately have the power to control it. There is an emerging approach to mental fitness that most people haven't heard about. So instead of focusing on our intelligence quotient or emotional quotient, EQ, or our IQ, this approach has us focusing on the PQ, or positive intelligence quotient, which I've explained earlier. And these mental fitness exercises, these PQ mental fitness exercises, will strengthen our mental muscles and enable us to shift from negative patterns of thinking, feeling, and reacting and responding to circumstances in a much more positive and impactful way. So, you know as well as I do, we've talked about it a little earlier, it's really challenging to get into physical shape or to navigate the challenging times in our lives without some support and guidance from others. When I walked through that gym, by that gym every day, I finally decided I'm going to invest in a coach for myself. That was, for me, the way I got physically fit was through a coach. That accountability, that showing up, because I knew my coach was counting on me to show up and I knew I had invested in some money to show up. That really helped me at one point in my life when I couldn't do it myself, get me in better physical shape. Trying to boost your own mental fitness requires building powerful new muscles in your brain. It's not just an awareness or an insight that you're thinking and reacting negatively. That's a good first step. Like I said, you can read a book about lifting weights and not get stronger. Same with mental fitness. The best way to boost your positive intelligence quotient, or PQ, and build up your mental strength is through regular short exercises, keeping track of your progress, working with a small group of people for accountability, and sharing what you think and feel. I recently went through this mental fitness program myself, and I'm still doing the exercises daily. And I'm excited to be able to share this program with you. What I now feel is a sense of control, improve relationships, and I'm more in flow with much less negativity throughout my day. So as a first step, I highly recommend taking that. If you're interested in boosting your mental fitness, I highly recommend taking the 2 assessments I mentioned. One will give you your saboteurs, and the other one will tell you your PQ score, or your positive intelligence quotient. And knowing that is definitely a good first step. So is reading Shirzad's book. But if you really want to make the change, I highly recommend participating in this coaching program that I'm offering. I'm offering you the opportunity to participate in my PQ mental fitness program. You'll work with a small group of people focused on increasing your own positive intelligence quotient. You'll be able to download an easy-to-use PQ tracking app on your phone to monitor your progress. You actually get a graph and shows you kind of where you should be in doing these PQ exercises and where you are. And you'll have Shirzad leading them. The app has videos that are done by Shirzad, and it also has, for the PQ exercises, and also has some coaching and training videos by Shirzad. I'm leading you as a small group, and I will be leading weekly meetings where we do the discussion on our progress, and I'll answer questions, and we learn how to apply this to the specific situations in your life. So you'll have this PQ tracking app to monitor your progress, and you'll watch a 1-hour video each week. It's actually an hour's worth of videos broken into smaller chunks, and they are delivered on a Saturday. So you have Saturday and Sunday to watch them. And typically your pod, or the small group we call a pod, that meeting is on a Monday. And then you'll have that 1-hour video each week, and you'll have 15 minutes of daily exercises. And then you'll also be able to interact with your small group to share your experiences. And that's where a lot of the learning happens, because you might think to yourself, I'm not going to bring that up. That thought's going on in my head, but I'm not sharing it with anybody. And then someone else in the group brings up a similar thought. And you're like, oh, I'm not alone. No, you're not alone. And you are not your saboteurs. Like I said, your saboteurs are in your mind, but that's not you. You'll also, within the app, receive a PDF copy of the New York Times bestseller, Positive Intelligence, written by Shirzad Chamine, who is a Stanford lecturer and CEO coach. So you'll get customized coaching and training from me to discuss what comes up in each video and how to sustain and integrate this into your daily practice. And like I said, you get the enhanced learning that comes from sharing experiences with others in your small group. This coaching is really good for like a group of family members to go through together, or with your significant other. It's good for, like, let's just say, a leadership team at work. The leadership team could go through it together to better understand. So kind of like in Myers-Briggs, if you've ever taken your Myers-Briggs, I would tell you I scored ISTJ, introvert, but I've also scored extrovert. I guess it depends on the day that I'm taking that assessment. So it's really what my tendencies are. I don't want to say I am these things, and you don't want to say I am and list what your top saboteurs, I would tell you my top saboteurs that came out of the assessment were hyperachiever, people pleaser, and restless. And I'm learning to change what comes out of my mouth about this, but I don't want to say I am a hyperachiever or I am a pleaser. In fact, in this one coaching program, she's like stops us from saying that right away. She says, say up until now. Okay, up until now, I was a hyperachiever, but don't let that define you. Those are just your tendencies. And you don't want to get into, like if you've got a spouse and one person scores as controlling and another person scores as a victim is the top one. You don't want to get into a battle over that where you're a controller and you're victim. No, that's our judge coming out and acting in a negative way about this. The purpose of this is to improve our lives, is to improve our relationships, is to operate out of the sage mode portion of our brain more often than not. And it's life-changing. So I hope you'll join me. I can't tell you what it is right now because we're developing it as I'm recording this on the 13th of April, but I should have the website page up by the 19th of April. But if you just go to Emily Harman, HARMAN.com, you'll see my website. And there should be a page that would be called, I think it's going to be called Mental Fitness on that website. We're working on developing it this week. And that would be where you could sign up. Spaces are limited. I only have a certain number of slots for adding people, giving people access to the app. And then, of course, there's only a certain number of groups that I can coach throughout this program at one given time. So sign up quickly if you want to get in this go around. If not, there'll be other dates that you can sign up and start your 6-week program on the website. That's my plan, is to have different time slots where you could start your program. So what is your judge telling you right now? That seems like a lot of work. I don't know if you should do that. Because you know what? Guess what? Our brain, our judge, wants us to stay status quo. So you're going, but notice what you're like feeling. Are you feeling excited and expansive about this opportunity? And then when you have time to think of it, are you thinking, I don't know, maybe I should wait until after the summer. Maybe I should wait until this. Maybe I should wait until that. There's no time like the present. And I really don't like being salesy. So hopefully this isn't coming across as salesy. I'm very psyched about this program because it's life-changing. And if I don't bring it to you, to the onwarders, to my target clients, I feel like I'm doing you a disservice. So check it out. And thank you for listening today to my solo cast, which is kind of something that's very infrequent. I don't do this that often. I remember when I was first starting my podcast and you're supposed to like do an episode where you describe who you are, and I couldn't even do it. So if you listen to the first full episode, it's my son interviewing me about why I started the Onward Podcast, because I couldn't really just sit and talk in front of a microphone. But that's what I did for this one. And I think it turned out all right. So I'm getting ready to send it to the editors. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being an onwarder. Thank you for listening to the Onward Podcast. I'm very grateful.